Bad Santa's back. More badness.
More badness.
I remember the first one.
Yeah. Did you like the first one?
Well, yes, in parts, I think.
So
It's a long time ago.
A long time ago. 2003. So the first one was, 13 years ago and was directed by Terry Zwigoff, who'd made Crumb and Ghost World.
I didn't come out of it thinking I could do with another one.
No, and evidently neither did anybody else, because 13 years later suggests that, that everyone thought that's fine. We got away with it once. Let's just let that lie. So anyway, this is 13 years later. Billy Bob Thornton is back. Willie and Mark are reunited, both still at each other's throats. They have one good idea, and the good idea is let's get in Kathy Bates to play Willie's mum as a sort of, hard-living, hard-drinking, tattooed, tough woman who works, apparently, at a children's charity shelter and yet is actually only in it for the money.
Given City is a charity, but 98 cents every dollar goes to Regent Hastings.
And how are you supposed to get it?
These little buckets here, they're filled with cash up to the brim every day. And then at night, they store that cash in the safe in Regent's office. And that's our target.
Christmas Eve, they have a big charity concert. So while the kids and volunteers are all singing, the money is just sitting there waiting for an armor transfer.
That's our take window. Last year, the haul was almost $2 million.
And when do you pull your little Roy Rogers pistol out on me again?
I said I was sorry. You gotta let that go, Willie.
No, I think I'll hang on to it for a while.
If I cut ties with every numbnut who tried to shoot me, I never would have gotten pregnant with you. Come on, boy. Be just like old times.
Old times?
Mm-hmm.
You mean a living nightmare? Why didn't you say so? I'm in.
There's a recurrent joke in 22 Jump Street about we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do exactly the same thing. And that's the joke being, that when you do a sequel, you do exactly the same thing. And there's a sort of gag there about, it's going to be like old times. What you mean a living nightmare? And the attempt to sort of rekindle that chemistry. I have to say that I didn't laugh once in Bad Santa 2, which is a shame because although I wasn't a huge fan of the original, I thought the original was, it had a certain amount of charm, and not least because it had a kind of an edge and that kind of a stringent feel that you need when you're sort of completely surrounded by the saccharine sweetness of Christmas movies, most of which are terrible, to be honest. So you think, okay, that's great. So the idea is, he's a Father Christmas and he's drunk and he's a reprobate and he does this, that and the other. In the case of this, what's happened is that they seem to have imagined that the thing that made the first movie work was just the swearing and the vulgarity and but they forget that actually in the first one there was something that was off kilter and oddly charming. That there was, amidst the sort of the loathsomeness, there was something that was actually quite affectionate and touching. In the case of this, all you get is just the profanity, the abuse, the vomiting, the vulgarness, and a mean-spiritedness, which I think actually wasn't present in the first film. I think even those who go and see Bad Santa 2 thinking, oh, great, whilst we're getting into the Christmas season of everybody, all movies come at you like they're kind of candy floss and chocolate, and wouldn't it be nice to see something that's got a bit of edge to it? I think even they will be sorely disappointed. You remember Arnold Schwarzenegger trying to buy a Turbo Man in Jingle All the Way, which is a film that always bothered me because it was like, it's a crassly commercial film about the crass commercialization of Christmas. But having seen Jingle All the Way more times than, because it's on all the time, there are certain things in it that are quite funny. I've got to get a Turbo Man. Actually, after a while, sort of seems to become, and you think, oh, well, actually, fine, there is something in there. The father who has to buy the wretched toy for the son, otherwise his, family life is going to fall apart. Compared with Bad Santa 2, Jingle All the Way, which is not a good film, Jingle All the Way is absolutely Citizen Kane. And Billy Bob Thornton spends the whole thing looking like a man paying a check, and it's meant to be that his character is irascible and fed up and grumpy, and it's hard not to imagine that actually it's Billy Bob Thornton being irascible and fed up and grumpy and wondering, why am I doing this? Oh, I know why I'm doing it. I must be doing it because there's a large paycheck at the end of it. If the first party had the kind of the charm of somebody misbehaving badly at a drunken office party. This is like The Hangover the next day. The difference being that it's 13 years later, and that's a hell of a hangover.